"Do you boys know Fiddler on the Roof?" she asked in the rearview mirror. She got no response from me or my brother. Well, my favorite song goes, "Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracle." She had to pull off the highway and compose herself. "I'm sorry, boys, it's just so beautiful. I'll finish it for you later." This is my mom. She's also tough. After high school, my brother had a really rough few years, and during that period, he was often openly hostile to my mom. I remember him standing in the living room, screaming the most pointedly cruel things he could think to say at my mom. And she stepped towards him, got in his face, and whispered, "Say whatever you want, but you will never make me stop loving you." This is my mom. She's a sweet, tiny Southern Baptist lady from small town Alabama. And she's also hard-nosed, a single mom for several years who supported the three of us on a Louisiana public school librarian's salary. At her core, she loves everyone, and her children most of all. She was so committed to connecting with us that she happily made herself the butt of our jokes so that we would laugh together. In the early 90s, Mom adapted all the rap songs we liked to suit her needs around the house. When MC Hammer got big, and you remember Hammer Time and Can't Touch This, she'd call us to dinner with, "All right, stop. Dinner time, whoa, whoa." And if we were having leftovers, it was crisscross in front of the microwave. "Warm it up, Chris. I'm about to. Warm it up, Chris. That's what I was born to do." I felt embarrassed by her unself-conscious, unironic commitment to connecting with us. I also felt unconditionally loved, but mostly embarrassed. As a junior in college, I took a summer job teaching at a boarding school in the Northeast. I was pretty directionless in life, but the Dead Poets Society potential of this job intrigued me. Though I wasn't looking to emulate my mom, teaching did seem more rewarding and fun than whatever it was that businessmen did in their businessman jobs. The entirety of my agenda between the end of school and the start of my summer job was a quick outpatient surgery to repair a deviated septum. Hooray for staying on your parents' health insurance. But I had a weird blood clotting issue after the procedure, and I ended up in the ICU for a couple of days. And they shoved so much packing into my nose, and I was so swollen that I could barely talk. And because of the clotting, I was prohibited from flying. So my job was going to be taken from me. But before despair could kick in, my mom immediately says, "Well, then I'll just have to drive you up there." It's more than a 24-hour drive from Louisiana to northern Massachusetts. And she just canceled her life plans for the next 4 days, drive me up, and then head right back by herself. Classic mom. And since it hurt even to talk, I definitely couldn't help with the driving. And Mom said, "No problem." Ever the optimist, she called her sister and explained the story and turned this tragedy into a family reunion. So we departed heading east, and we made a pit stop in Birmingham to pick up Aunt Susan. I lay quietly in the back seat, silently suffering, while my mom and her sister, as they say in the Southern Baptist church I grew up in, visited. They're very close, but they didn't get to see each other all that often, so there was lots of catching up to do. They talked, and they talked, and they talked forever. And when they were finally caught up on everything going on in each of their lives, did they stop talking? No. They seamlessly switched to reminiscing, and they had 45 years of shared history to recount to one another. Remember that cute boy from high school? Yes. Remember Velma, that mean bully who always hit me with the dodgeball? Well, it turns out she's still a bully to this day, but she became the sheriff of a small town in Alabama, and now she's a bully with a badge and a gun. Remember that time we had to sing at Melinda's wedding, even though neither of us can carry a tune in a bucket? Oh, Pete, you would have laughed so hard if you had seen us wailing like a couple of injured beagles in front of all those people. Why did they even ask us? Well, you can't say no to something like that. You just have to do your best. You know how I sing, right, Pete? Remember when I tried to sing that Fiddler on the Roof song for you? I lay in the back seat alone, and I pitied how tragically unhip they were. I didn't sigh or roll my eyes, but that's only because it hurt too bad to move my face. It didn't take long at all for their incredible generosity to be completely lost on me. At that time, I was still unable to see my mom as a real person, as anything more than the role of my mom. I was unable to empathize with the nature of adult sibling relationships. I was unable to realize how special and rare a chance it can be to reconnect with someone you love, to get to share your life, your opinions, your memories with loved ones you don't get to see very often. Those rare hours together are precious. And I get that now, but back then it was just really, really annoying. In my defense, we had 27 hours in the car and they not once turned on the radio for me. Eventually, we made it to the school. Mom suggested that we go grab dinner in town, and I hurriedly spoke more words than I had in a week. No, I need to go get situated in my room. I'm already a couple of days late. I need to catch up. Thanks, Mom. Thank you, Aunt Susan. I really appreciate the ride. Y'all have a good trip home. Love you. I walked as quickly as my heavily medicated self could towards the dorm. Mom half shouted, "Okay, honey, well, that's fine. You sure you don't need any help with your bags?" "No," I shook my head as I continued walking. I bailed on my mom, who had just given up almost a week of her life and several $100s to get me to my summer job that only paid several $100s. When I think back to that now, my first reaction is to cringe at my behavior. My understanding of my mom was so narrow, so small. Back then I was doing her a favor if I took a moment to stop thinking about myself and to consider her at all. But regardless of how selfish I am, my mom, to this day, remains generous, robust, selfless, positive, and funny. When Mom tells this story now, it's a comedy. It's a story about how much she and her sister gabbed while I suffered in the back seat. When she tells the story, it's like a wacky sitcom setup with me as the long-suffering protagonist. She never mentions that she had to put everything on hold, that she had to spend all that money, that she had to take all that time for a comparatively tiny payoff. Every time she tells the story and she gets herself laughing, and then she grabs my hand and says, "We had fun, didn't we?"